Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Jose, The Plain Truth, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
La Tierra es plana.
Somebody's got an echo.
Echo.
A bit
Hello?
quiet. I'll just sort out some sound levels and then we'll do some housekeeping. You're a bit quiet, Jose. Well, good to have you.
Good afternoon.
Good to be here.
We do some housekeeping. Any signs of curvature, gentlemen?
Yes, there's signs of curvature because when the sun goes down in the distance over the ocean, it casts a shadow on any object on the shoreline. So the shadow can only come from the curvature of the Earth. That was what I was given yesterday in a discussion.
Sorry, say that again. So what you're saying is the sun goes past the lip of the curved Earth, and that causes a shadow on what?
Upwards.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Shadow
Yeah.
upwards, basically, is what they're saying.
Right. Yeah. So basically, this guy was saying, I've seen a shadow on cliffs and on buildings and whatnot as I'm on the beach and the sun's going down. It's casting a shadow, and the only way it can do that is if there's a curve.
Really?
But perspective would do the same thing. As it gets further away, it's going to become closer to the horizon from your perspective.
Yeah, but the question is, what's the object that's casting the shadow on the shoreline or whatever the object is? So
The lack of air clarity.
Well, no. I would say it's
And
the
the
same
mirage
as...
zone.
In the same way as we look out into the distance, we'll see things reduce in size and disappear bottom up due to perspective. The same is in reverse from the sun's point of view when the light is casting back towards us. So at that angle, at that angular limitation of the sun in the distance, it's still going to cause an obstruction from its point of view, casting light towards you. So the same exact argument applies in terms of perspective and how that would happen. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. It's the first time I've heard this, but for me, it follows the exact same logic as perspective. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so.
Well, still light being cast from somewhere, from an angle. So I don't think that you can actually prove with measured shadows that a shadow will actually go upwards at any point on the Earth.
Yeah, that was a new one for me.
I think that's
I
like,
heard that.
oh yeah, it looks like it's going over me upward. I think it's just they didn't actually measure it. I think
Well,
shadows being cast up, except if mirrors are involved.
Yeah, my first thought was that it would be the same for the sunrise too. You'd have the same phenomenon because the horizon would be there, so you would just have the reverse. It's almost like you're playing the sunset in reverse, so that if you're on the shore of New Jersey and you're looking towards your house or whatever, then there would be a shadow there as the sun rose, and then once the sun peaked the horizon, that shadow would be gone.
Shout out to
but
hold on. Shout out to Behira and Love. Chat.
yeah, if you have your car in the driveway and there's a light over the car, the shadow is going to be underneath the car. But then pull the car out to the end of the street outside, and if the light is powerful enough, the shadow is going to be behind the car because the light is in the same spot, same height, but the shadow is going to be different, you know?
Yeah. Right.
What is it with globe heads and shadows?
That's the
Sticks
way.
and shadows. It's their
yeah.
foundation.
Shadows and sticks.
Are.
Fair enough. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. Sorry
Nope.
for interrupting you there, Travis.
No, that's okay. I'm done.
But
No.
So shout out to Yeshua Dude in the chat, who got, I don't know if it's him that did this, but JLB is now on Wikipedia, and I think it's something like greatest scientific skeptics. He's at the top of the list as the guy who debunked the spinning ball Earth and Cavendish back in 2015. So somebody had basically lifted a direct quote from what he said yesterday on the show and pasted it into Wikipedia under scientific skeptics. So he's the leading scientific skeptic according to Wikipedia now.
Really?
Yeah, check it out. I posted the
can
video.
you present that? I want to see that.
I posted the video. I'll do it again. Give me a sec. So in the chat now, I've just
Yeah, I
posted
checked that
that
out.
video.
Pretty good.
Yeah, check it out. It's funny.
Funny
That's
stuff,
like fantastic. That's awesome. So is
Are
that a
you
no
saying
then
it's
to
been in the
axial
chat?
rotation? No signs of axial rotation. Not going to hear any mention of the stars.
No.
No.
Hairy muff. Right. What about the distance to the sun? Any evidence of that?
There is none. There is no distance to the
Yeah.
sun.
No. That's a very contentious question now.
Every time Arwen says that, I picture Obi-Wan waving his hand. There is no distance to the sun.
No, it's actually an honest answer. It's not a like you have to accept that. It's just true.
I'm going to do a little plug for my own channel.
On the other
so
hand,
maybe
hold
not.
on, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, yeah, what he was basically doing, you could imagine, is just saying like, yeah, I know you really actually hate the Empire. And just played into that in a mystical way. Aha.
So after these shows conclude and during the breaks, the show still is recorded, and then I just split it up and put it out on the second channel, which is just Nathan Oakley without the 1980 bit, Nathan space Oakley. So those shows from yesterday with JLB, the extended version, is now available on my backup channel, or at least one of them is. They get published the following day, maybe 24 hours after they first come out. So if you click the link in the info box below this video, you'll see a link to Nathan space Oakley channel, just Nathan Oakley YouTube channel, and as I say, you get some extra little bits of the debate on there. Interestingly enough, I did a little advert for that yesterday after the show's concluded, which was where Rumpus was absolutely demolished. So in terms of the distance to the sun, we were talking about Kepler, and he was explaining how the distance to Mars was formulated, and at the point that he basically conceded that he's going to alter the actual measurements taken was the point that I ended that recording, was like, Radius Dominus, Gravitas Spiritus Sanctus Arwin, go in peace, in R you trust, because that's precisely what the case is. He used the R value to manipulate, in his own words, the actual measured angles that he got. So he's measured some angles and then adjusted them based on his religious belief that he lives on a sphere. So that's on a video called Rumpus Wrecked. Check out my backup channel or something like that, and then there's a link to the full extended version of that debate, including that little section. So yeah, check out my backup channel or my second extra channel. I'm gonna have to stop calling it my backup channel now, because it's kind of a channel in its own right now. So I will start calling it my second channel, or words to that effect. But yeah, check that out. Right, next one. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, gentlemen?
Yes.
Are you going to say that if I presuppose it's a sphere?
Yes.
And what evidence, based on the presupposition of it being a sphere, do you have for the molten iron core at the centre of that presupposed sphere, Arwin?
None whatsoever.
Right.
Earthquakes.
Lava.
Yeah.
Cartoons in school books.
Yeah, that's what they got, for real.
Yeah, I know. I'm hoping one day someone will come and go, look, it's in this book here. Look at this cartoon here. Shout out to Alicia for the super chat. Thank you very much. Any size of the presupposed ice wall? No, afraid not. I'm not adding it to the list. I'll just trigger flat earthers.
Mostly Riley.
Yeah, I went on to the FE Core, whatever you would call it, the little meeting that they have each week yesterday. Fascinating. And that subject came up, and there was a few. I think Bob Nodell was talking about it, saying, "Well, I saw both sides of the fence." The main difference being, and this was highlighted by Bob, was that when we talk about a model, we understand implicitly that we don't live on it. We're just trying to conceptualize things. When a globehead says they're talking about a model, they actually do think that's where they live. So there's a big distinction between us talking about models and globeheads talking about models.
Indeed.
Yes, sir.
I said there is no ice wall. You're all nuts. Right, what about the presupposition itself? Any evidence of the R value?
No, I already said that.
Nope.
No, I don't want to go back.
If you would presuppose it, then there could also be an iron molten core in there.
Yesterday most of the show went in the rotation of the stars, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, clockwise and counterclockwise, and that was, oh my god, that was painful to hear. I mean, it's good to hear their point of view and their explanation, but it is, oh my god, it hurts my head.
It was an old argument. So John Le Bon's, dabbled in flat Earth in the last couple of years, maybe 3 years, but hasn't been fully into it. So a lot of these arguments are new to him. And while he kind of got the concepts on the fly, it'll take some time to sink in. And that's no detriment to John. He's just fallen victim to a logical fallacy, as so many people do. And in this instance, it's begging the question, affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that he's fallen victim to. He's assuming the outcome, hemisphere, and he's affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, Q therefore P. If I'm in the southern hemisphere, I will see a rotation of stars. I see a rotation of stars, therefore I'm in the southern hemisphere. So it's a shame. I expected better, but there we go. It was still absolutely delightful. Massive shout out to JLB for joining the show yesterday. Really appreciate it. I like JLB. And loads of people in the chat have said, the guy's a dick, the guy's this. No, he's not. The guy's a good guy. He's a very, very good YouTuber. Check out his website, plug, all that good stuff. So yeah, check out JLB. He's not a bad person.
Shout out retracted. No.
Definitely not shout out retracted. I just don't like him. No, not at all.
Yeah, he was using a lot of tactics, for as a debater, and he kept calling it a chat, a conversation, a nice gathering or whatever he called it. I mean, he's a smart guy. At least he kept his cool. He didn't go overboard and he didn't swear and none of that. So, yeah, props to him.
Yeah, I mean, he did some tactical rumpusing, but then again, this is a debate. So, although in his reaction videos like, it's not really a debate, well, I disagree. Ultimately speaking, it's not a formalised debate, but we're still debating about this subject very much so. So, at various different points, he used tactics to obfuscate the position. But that's a good debating tactic. That's what we're up against with the Globers most of the time. Not that I'm going to bundle John Le Bon with the Globers. He's not. He's got very different ideas about what the world actually is. Nonetheless, still, as I say, I will repeat it, he has fallen victim to a logical fallacy, affirming the consequent. So there we go. But still, massive shout out to him. JLB is ace as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, the more noticeable, even for myself. I mean, I caught like all over the place him using the burden of proof reversal fallacy on his favor. That was on and on.
Yeah, there was a few, but hopefully he'll go back and listen to it again and take on board some of the points rather than just carte blanche ignoring it all and saying, flat earthers have regressed, which was his initial reaction. But like I say, unless what was actually said sunk in, that's going to be the position of somebody that adheres to their logical fallacy, if they still believe in it. There we go. Enough criticism of JLB. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
No swearing.
Directional pressure.
No pressure?
Directional pressure. Yeah, I know.
That's a relative term.
Yeah, that's what you keep saying. So
they're not looking for evidence of relative direction.
But the Flat Earth Society say the pancake disk Earth is going up and up and up, and that's gravity.
Yeah, 9.8 meters per second. It's rising up through the vacuum of space. Surprisingly, weird how the Flat Earth Society would assert such nonsense. Controlled opposition, in case you don't know and you're a newbie. Definitely not the opinions of 99% of the actual flat earthers.
Yeah, and it was very interesting when one of the big heads of the Flat Earth Society, actual ones, went to the Globebusters show a few months ago. and he had a nice chat with Bob Nuttall over there. It was really interesting, and they you know nailed that point to the T, and the guy was defending the point like, no, this is it, this is the way it works. Oh, well, so you got
Wow.
to go back and dig that chapter of Globebusters and see the Flatter Society in action.
Nice that they've made an appearance. It's only been 4 years. You'd think they'd be on the scene a bit sooner than that, wouldn't you? Since the explosion of flat Earth into the I'm not going to say mainstream, into popular culture. Let's call it that. You'd have thought they'd have been around a bit more.
Yeah, you would have thought. And they take all the credit of this big boom that happened a few years ago. They say, oh, yeah, it's all us all the time.
Of course, that's their job. Right. What about any evidence of a gas pressure without a container for any space believers out there?
Nope.
I say no.
No. That concludes our housekeeping.
All right, so Arwen, your answer to the curvature thing with the shadow off the horizon is that the atmosphere is so thick that that is the obstruction that causes the shadow. What happened?
He's not there.
Did I
I think
just
he's.
drop-
I think he's
did
gone
I
to
just
make a
drop
brew
out
or
or
something.
something?
What was your question about? I can't really answer. I don't know his logic behind this, so I'm not even going to attempt to answer for him.
So did my question come through all the way?
Yeah, I heard your
Yes.
question, but I don't know what Aaron would answer, so I'm not even going to attempt to try.
Okay.
Ask the question again.
It seems to me that Arwen suggested that the cause of the shadow, if the sun is going into the distance, and there is a shadow that then is projected on objects on the shore, the obstruction of the atmosphere is so dense and thick that it blocks the sunlight and produces the shadow that is being seen. So I just wanted clarification in terms of whether or not that was precisely what he was suggesting.
I heard you, man, but afraid to give you an answer because I have no idea. Like Nathan say, how are we? We're
Yeah. Well,
brain dead.
I mean that's no big deal. I mean, I think that that's something that we have to understand, that we can't test that. We can only surmise. We can only guess as to what it is.
Yeah, it's like the argument they use for um the shadows or underneath the clouds or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
illumination underneath the
Yeah.
clouds as the sun
Yeah.
sets or the
Yeah.
sunrise.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be
So yeah,
interesting to go back. It would be interesting to go back and live on the frontier or someplace where there's just nothing around you and just think, okay, what would I understand? What would I believe? What would I know? If you watch, I mean, because think about it, if 200 or 300 years ago you wouldn't know about the supposed contrast of the star trails. Wherever you were, that's what you saw. So then, if someone comes to you from 1,000 miles away and goes, "Wow, your star's going a different direction than mine," I mean, what would you then conclude? How would you then proceed? Would you change your worldview because of that, or would you just go, "Huh, that's interesting"?
Well, he wouldn't
the
suddenly make
second
me
part.
think that south is downwards.
No, I'm not talking about direction at all. I'm just saying in terms of where you're at and who comes your way and says what they have experienced from where they come from, and
All
you
depends
know,
on your conceptions about what stars are. So I think
yeah,
everyone could have a different, in that time, could have different opinions on it.
yeah.
Depend on what
Yeah,
their
because
family told them.
there was no curriculum, there was no school, for everybody available to give you a story of how everything works. Everybody had to just pretty much make it out on themselves.
But these
Uh,
stories
the
were under the people, from father to son, from mother to daughter, that kind of thing. That's how it used to work. Remember?
Yep, back in the day, yeah.
It still happens. But yeah, it's not given a lot of attention. Because
My
they want
favorite,
everybody to believe in schools.
my favorite part of yesterday's show was discussing the moon landings. That was brilliant.
It was awesome, and I liked when he went head to head against Rumpus. You were like, "Do you
Exactly.
believe everything?" That was awesome.
Yeah, and his answer was just perfect. Yes. I think anybody who thinks that there's any lies or deception is deluded, or words to that effect. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but there are no deceptions. Nobody ever lies, according to Rumpus.
No deceptions on a globe.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Everything is exactly as presented, people. Do not question the authorities.
No, go watch the Super Bowl every year. They will tell you how to dress, what to eat, and how to act all year long.
The Super Bowl? Why would foosball be telling you how to dress? And I don't follow. Obviously, I'm not American, so I don't see the Super Bowl.
That's one of the biggest hit shows. I mean, one of the biggest, most watched in America, football, and they present every year the what's hot, what's gonna be going on throughout the year. New TV series, new clothing lines, new cars, new electronics. All the new food, all the new little snacks. So they give you everything that's gonna go down the year. So many fans, and they want to be in fashion, they want to be up to date. So everybody is going to do whatever the Super Bowl commercials say. Many people watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials because it's 99% all the new stuff that nobody's seen before and everything that's
Advertisement.
coming ahead. So that's the programming. They're plugging you, they're telling you this is what you're going to do throughout the year and wait for the next Super Bowl for more surprises for the next year.
I see. So you get to see the new Ford P150 on the Super Bowl adverts.
Yeah, but I never
Yeah.
watch it. I never watch it for the product. I always watch it for the creativity of the commercials. I don't feel like I'm a typical consumer. Like when I see commercials, I'm like, I have to have that.
But many people do.
No,
Many,
that's
many
true.
people.
That's why they make those commercials. Yeah. I mean, I've sat next to people who react to the commercials, and I look over at them and I say, "You're the person they make this commercial for," because they're reacting to it.
Yeah, the programming is strong in big sports events, majority.
You can carry on chatting. I'm just going to check the live feed's okay.
Yeah, Travis, you travel a lot. You're always in the truck for hours and long hours. Have you come across anything weird, like tells you like, oh shit, the Earth is a globe? Have you feel driving uphill or downhill sometimes?
You know what? You know what's so funny, Jose, is that before I was flat Earth, I remember as a truck driver. I don't think I thought about it before that. But before I was flat Earth, I thought about the Coriolis effect on the ground. I'm thinking, I'm traveling against the spin of the Earth right now. How the how is that possible? And then I'm going north, and then I'm going south, and then I'm going east, and I'm traveling against something that's moving underneath me. And then I would think, okay, if I were on a moving sidewalk in an airport that was larger than they normally are, say, let's make it 20 feet wide or whatever, and I was walking in a circle while that thing was moving, I would know it, and it would be demonstrably effective on my sense of balance and movement. So yeah, before I was flat Earth, yeah, I thought about these things, but I just didn't understand it. I'm just like, this just doesn't make any sense. I guess it's the great scale negator. Okay, it's the great scale negator. It's
And
so
did you
big.
try to look into yourself, like to see if there's a light effect on the head, on the, a little dizzy or something? Like I bet you will. Like, man, I'm against the earth or in favor of the earth, maybe I'm gonna feel something in this just looking into yourself,
Well,
right?
no, but I mean, it's just like a treadmill. It's just like a treadmill. If you got put a dog on a treadmill and start the treadmill up, the dog's not moving anywhere. If he runs fast enough to counteract the speed of the treadmill, he's going to be stationary. You would have to drive. You would have to run faster to overcome the motion of the treadmill, or you would have to slow down to be carried along by it. Or just
It
just
it
think about
depends
it
on the
as
friction of the treadmill.
sure. No, no, I get it. But even still, then I would actually, now that I'm talking about this, think about being in a canoe and going up a river. It's the same thing. Okay, that's how simple this issue is. That's how simple, logical, and commonsensical that this whole issue is.
So simple and so complicated they make it.
Yeah. Anyway, just real quick, I've got my dispatcher's trying to call me. But anyway, if you can understand that logic on a scale of the river, it's the exact same argument when you get to the size of the Earth. It is the exact same. You cannot explain it away. It cannot be explained away.
Indeed, Arwin.
What?
Talk to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. What do you want?
When are
I
I miss your shows. When you gonna throw a next event?
Oh, you missed my shows. Okay, I don't know. It's just I
I
would like
like
to
going to
have
your
some.
chat and troll.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I'd like to have some interesting people to talk to. So yeah, I'm up for guests, including Globers, if I kind of trust them that they're not gonna screw me over. And yeah, we'll see. I'm open. So
How about you having a special show with PMARS, for example?
oh god,
Nah,
I'm not
Gleam.
gonna
You
go
want to have
anywhere.
Gleam on? I think that would be a conversation everybody would enjoy. A conversation between Arwen and Gleam about gravity.
Yeah, I'd love it. I yeah, I can't really find him, can't add him in the Google system for some reason. Just can't seem to do
If
it.
you're listening, Gleam, get in touch with Arwen.
Yeah, I'm available on Skype. Just look for R Win with a Y instead of IJ7. R Win 7.
A lot of people is interested in this gravity subject, and you got your perspective. Other people has their own. Even Mark Doxy, which has been very quiet lately. He hasn't joined the show a lot. I think he was here yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, he
And I
popped.
would like to hear a discussion between the two of you on gravity, because Mark Doxy has his own unique point of view on gravity, also similar to yours, but quite not the same.
Nah, he keeps it more basic, like you guys. I am really trying to dig through all the correlations, all the different forces and things that are happening with materials. And it is very complex. It is a complex theory. But yeah, so far I got a directional pressure, or however you're going to define the direction, downward. Uh, it's weight. It's basically weight. And the actual definition of weight, when you practically consider it, is only in one direction. That's how you measure it. That's how you measure weight. And that's something. There's a force causing this pressure that is translated into weight. So yeah,
Mm.
it's not that's not explained by density and buoyancy. This pressure, once an object has found its equilibrium, it's just one solid object sitting against another solid object. Still, there's pressure in this one direction, and that's not explained by density or buoyancy. So that is it. That's where I'm at.
That's good. There's a here where I live. I drove by. I think it's like 7 or 8 miles long train track, and it's always very cool. I mean, I hear the train when it goes by. I'm about to go in this next couple of days, park next to it and take a couple of videos of it or whatever. I want to see perspective in action in a zoom in a train track. It will be nice. I mean, I can picture it, but I really want to see how it looks zooming in different angles, higher and lower. I think it'll be interesting on how perspective in an Earth base, works visually with a zoom in.
So are you saying that you're going to find a long stretch of railroad track and then film the train approaching and egressing?
If I can, yeah, if I can see the train coming in or going, even without the train, at least going different heights and lows and working with the zoom in, to see if I can spot an object because there's a long train track where I live. That's the thing. So I'm gonna see what I can do and see if I can work something out with how perspective really works.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that'd be
very
interesting.
simple. Diffraction, optical slant. Everything gets smaller in the distance, and there's obstruction due to diffraction, which is perceived like an optical slant if you describe the phenomena. And yeah, eventually everything goes out of sight due to a lack of air clarity, obstructing it like a fog. And that's how that works.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, there's also a row of power lines, awesome power lines along the street, and they're freaking tall, and they are it's long, like I don't know, probably 10 miles long. So that's gonna be awesome because it's gonna be not over water, but over the street. So it's gonna be pretty good. I'm looking forward to do those observations and post them on my channel.
Okay, cool.
So I was last week, Sunday, just a week ago today, and flying or driving past LAX, and I saw that phenomenon where the airplane looks to be hovering in midair. And
Really?
oh, it was absolutely mind blowing because I wasn't expecting it. I was driving and I was in traffic, so there's no way I could have pulled over and gotten out. And but I saw the airplane approaching, right, and it just looked normal, but it looked like it was going slow. And I just kept watching it a bit, and whenever it was safe, I would look over at it, and it got to like in front of me. So let's say in front of me, visually, it lined up with a building.
Mhm.
I got to that building and I watched that airplane stay on top of that building for at least 5 or 6 seconds, and it looked like it was absolutely motionless. And I was
Can be.
just,
Was
I
it a
was,
big jumbo jet or something?
yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
well, they can
passenger
do
airline.
that. They can do that. They have like the electrostatic technology hidden within their engines that makes them run without fuel, pretty much. But that also gives other weird pressure-like or force-like effects that can make them basically land like a bird. Just make them hover
Yeah, it was
I've
amazing.
seen a bunch of those videos,
without
but I thought
getting
that
any
only happened
strain
in.
from the. They don't receive strain from the hovering, from the pressures. That is the most interesting part about it.
Yeah.
I thought that only happened in cartoons like Bugs Bunny falling down really quick and he hit the brakes, yeah, and he stopped like 2 foot on the ground. He jump out, he run, and then the
Perfect
plane
landing.
crashes.
Yep. That's from Watership Down. Remember?
What about Watership Down? That's one of my favorite movies. I actually
Yeah.
have my
The
my son.
seagull. The seagull.
Oh yeah, Kia.
He
Yeah.
dropped like dead air and then
Yeah.
perfect landing.
He looks around to see if anybody saw. Um, my son tattoo on my right arm is the Frith.
Hmm. I remember. It's a good movie. Airplanes hovering, yeah. They can do that. Just don't think about it. We're not gonna talk about it. There's no engineer that's gonna tell you how that actually works, probably. Would be very interesting if we could find one that's actually worked on them.
Yeah, but I guess the thing would be is that you've got kids and people watching the. I mean, when I remember as a kid, whenever I flew, I would watch our approach, to land. So you would think that if you stopped in midair, you would think, what the hell is going on right now? Why are we hovering?
No one's paying attention on flights.
Static field or something.
Nah,
No.
no one's paying
No.
attention. No one's paying the
No,
slightest
my
bit of
point-
attention to what's going on. They're reading their in-flight magazine, they're looking at the movie, they're listening to the music on their headphones, they're looking at their phone. They're sleeping, but very few people are actually staring out the window at what's going
But
on.
that's what I'm saying, Nathan. I'm saying that I am that person who would be staring out the window, and I don't ever remember experiencing a phenomenon where I think we're not flying right now, we're hovering in midair. That's what I'm saying.
You never go up to the cockpit and then put your ear to the door and hear the pilot say, "Okay, put the brakes on it."
Yeah, right, sure.
That would be awesome. It's like a parking brake, just keep on hovering.
And when people don't question it, they don't look for something weird in the skies. I mean, after I found flat Earth, I haven't traveled in a plane yet. But before I did a bunch of trips to Puerto Rico and back and to Ohio, a few hours. And I used to always looking down the window, but looking down to the water and looking to the land masses. I never pay attention to the horizon or to the skies or to the clouds pretty much. I mean, the clouds were underneath the plane, so I looked at them, but I never pay attention to the horizon line and what I can see beyond, if I can focus too much. I was always looking down. I don't know if everybody is like that. And curiosity
trees
trying to look
everywhere.
further.
I see trees everywhere. So.
Giant trees, right?
Yes, huge, miles and miles high. No,
Nah, you don't see trees from a commercial airliner. You can't see that. Maybe when you're coming into land.
What?
You don't see a tree from 30,000 feet. You just don't. If you're coming into land, maybe. Out of the super chat, says message retracted. Fair enough. Not even a name on it.
It's a good one. No, you're correct. I was wandering off. I was actually thinking about what I look at when I'm looking around on land. I see a lot of trees usually here. So, in an airplane, I haven't been in an airplane since I was a baby. No, that's not true. I probably was in one when I was like 14, maybe 17 as well. That's it. Never been
that
in
was
an
2 weeks
airplane ever
ago.
since.
That was 2 weeks ago when you were 17.
I was like 38 or 39, aren't you, Arwin?
What? Who?
You?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's a long time ago.
The suggestion was that you were only 18 now. That was the...
Jose's just teasing him.
Yeah, I'm picking on it.
Saying you look young,
You are-
Arwin.
You're older than me, right, Travis? You're 40, like 45.
I'm 46.
There you go. You're the old one in here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, just call me Viejo.
Viejo, yeah.
For the super chat, is that Pilton Pop? Have I said that right? Let's see it on my iPad.
It's so peaceful now. Where is Rumpus? So he can disturb everybody here.
Pilton Pop, thank you very much.
Well,
I would
Nathan,
like to go. I would like to go hang out with Rumpus and get drunk with him. He's like, no, 5 more seconds. But I want to tell you this.
It would be incredibly tiresome.
I can't think of anything worse.
I know, right? Can you imagine Rumpus with a woman? Just 5 more seconds. 5 more seconds.
Oh
I
man.
bet he gets a lot of fists and slaps.
A lot of fists.
Fists and slaps.
Just 5 more seconds.
5 more seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not quite finished.
Nathan.
I'm not quite yet. I'm not quite finished.
What are you doing?
I'm laughing.
Got some fist bumps in the chat. Shout out to the brain.
All right, Nathan, how did you feel about my response yesterday when we were talking about the star rotations? And I just basically applied what we talk about in terms of just simply seeing an object. Look, that's just what we're seeing. I don't have to explain why it's rotating this way or whatever you think is happening. We're just seeing it happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, the problem comes when you start inserting presuppositions. That was the whole point of the discussion, in my opinion, yesterday. So if you're going to presuppose that on your compass, you look at your compass and you go, right, that way is north, the opposite is south. But you're looking at the compass and holding it in your hand. South's that way. I just have to turn my camera on. So south is that way, not that way. But that's the impression that you kind of have to accept, that south is down, down under, bottom of the hemisphere. And it's not. These are lights in the sky. They're above us. The fact that I walk from here to there, I was thinking about it earlier, and the best sort of conceptual thing I could come up with is if I look at my light in my house, and then I leave my house and go all the way to Scotland, and then look at someone else's light, why on earth would I ever assume that the light that was in my house is now underneath my arse? Increase that distance by 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000. Why would you ever assume that it's somehow around a bend without any evidence of there being a bend there? It's nonsense. Right. It's still above you. Yeah. To ever assume that it's below you is ridiculous. But that's part of the logical fallacy that, people like JLB have fallen victim to. It's disappointing, really, because, as I've said before, a lot of the formulation, not the arguments themselves, but the way logical fallacy is used in debate, I've got from JLB. So it's a bit disappointing, really.
The most beautiful is when we see an object at a very, very long distance, and we see the object because it's there, a direct line of sight, period. That's the explanation. We see it because it's there. But they have to, if they think they live in a sphere, then they have a phenomena. There's where their science come in. Because if, as a flat earther, there's no phenomena. There's a lighthouse very, very far away, and it's there. For them, it's a phenomena. It's the non-standard lumen refraction hyena going on,
Absolutely. I was chatting with John after the show yesterday, and he gave me credit for that. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're the one who pointed out that seeing a building in the distance is a concrete noun. He said, yeah, but I never took the next logical step, which is to say that a globe head has to turn that concrete noun into an observed phenomena, so then they could do science on it, right? Well, I assumed that was the next step in what John was saying when he was like, no, you don't need to do science on this, it's a concrete noun. I just assumed naturally that he realised that the next step in terms of the globe deception is to turn a concrete noun into an observed phenomena. It's not really there. We can't really see the building. There's an earth curve in the way. Look, my model says so. So let's start looking at how refraction is affecting this concrete noun. Observed phenomena. That's the trick. No, just a building, just like my mouse next to me. It's just something that I can see. Concrete noun, not anything that's in requirement of science. That's where, again, a bit of confusion crept in yesterday. It's like, what's your best flat earth proof? And there's people in the chat like Slick James Johnson saying there's no requirement. And I would agree. It's like, what? I don't need to establish a cause and effect relationship here. I don't need to science the shit out of flat earth. I just look at something and see it. That's the end. There's no explanation required whatsoever. So anything that you see in your building now, table. There's a table. I see it. Do you need to explain it? No, of course not. It's just a table. You could explain how you got it, I suppose. But that doesn't change the fact that you just see a table. It's a concrete noun. Doesn't matter if you see it 30 miles away. It's still just something that you see. It's just in the distance. Obviously and observably flat. Not in requirement of scientific validity. Don't need to, and when people just ignore that, which is pretty much what we get here, well, there you go. Obviously and observably flat. It's on screen right now. I get the pictures up, I keep them rotating so that there's been enough times when you're in debate and there's a happy coincidence that a flat earth proof's on screen. And you go, there you go, on screen right now, 30-mile distance. We see it because it's there. And, the answer is, well, why are you presupposing it's flat? It's like, I'm not presupposing anything. It's just a bloody lighthouse. It's just a bloody building. It's just there. No explanation needed. Obviously and observably flat.
Nathan?
But yeah, like I say, people are so used to thinking that you've got to give an explanation to a concrete noun because that's what science has told them they need to do when they see something in the distance. Oh, there's something in the distance. Better science the shit out of that right away. No. Why? Because your model says there should be a curve in the way. Oh, right, I see. Let's simultaneously ignore all aspects of perspective, put it in an orthographic view, and explain away that curvature that we don't see. With refraction, coincidentally, at 7/6 the radius of the Earth curve we don't see that's supposed to be blocking it. We can explain that too. We just have to beg the question again.
I can add something to that, by the way. To
Go ahead.
thread in their field of theoretics and math. It's not just observably flat because things are there. If you're going to actually measure things, then it's also geometrically flat because everything you measure is going to be in a straight line, the distance-wise. There's a direct linear correlation between obstruction of things due to diffraction and the distance. The correlation is linear, and that proves that there is no cumulative movement, no cumulative direction in the obstruction of it, and that proves that it is literally geometrically flat.
Yeah,
So
I
you
agree, it's
can't
flat.
model your way out of it. The correlation is linear, and that means flat. Whatever the total shape may be, this is a fact about the shape. Statistically, geometrically.
Yeah, didn't we see Rumpus then doing that yesterday, Nathan, with your little excerpt where he was drawing the triangulation and then he inserted that arc? And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you inserting an arc?
So, just to give that a bit more clarity, so on Cassini, how do you get the distance to the Sun? And it's done with the parallax of Mars, so therefore, how do you get the distance to Mars? And Rumpus explains that you travel across to different continents, take an angle, measure an actual angle, and then you do the maths. Let's rub our hands together and do some maths then. What maths are you going to do? Oh, well, we're going to adjust that angle. Why would you adjust that angle? Well, because we're on a sphere, of course. So we have to presuppose you're on a sphere. Yes, you will presuppose. What was he said? We will, can't remember the exact word he used. Didn't say presuppose. Didn't say assume. I can't remember the exact word, but we will presuppose we're on a sphere.
Yeah.
So then he alters the angle. So it's no longer the angle that you've measured. Oh, no, of course not. We're on a sphere. Therefore, we must adjust this angle. No. Why are you adjusting it? You're just measuring something, right? No, you've got to believe
Called
in a
rigging
sphere.
it.
Yeah, it's called jerry-rigging it to fit your religious belief, precisely.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I one of the good examples on where's the bottom of the building, very far away. Do you see
Nathan,
it, you guys? I mean, where's the bottom half of the dog in Ranty's video? Maybe 1 mile away, was 1 or 2 miles away, and you see the dog coming from on jumping, and you can see it, then you cannot see it. Was he going over the curve? No, it was hidden behind that crap that's going on in the horizon. You know.
No,
It's
it's at the
easy.
angular size limit. So the dog is the equivalent of my example with a pair of shoes. You know, yeah, it's bigger than a pair of shoes. It's a dog, but the same principle applies. At a given distance, it's physically too small to see at the angle that he's viewing it at. So the section of dog that's below that limited viewing angle at that distance will always, without fail, disappear. Nothing to do with atmospheric conditions. Everything to do with the viewing angle. So the viewing angle to the bottom section of that dog is too small to see at that distance. It's purely down to the angle of attack. So had he have raised up, literally if he got a box and stood on the box and held the camera higher, he'd have brought that dog back because he'd have increased the viewing angle beyond the zero limit, and therefore you'd start to see it again. Gradually, it would get more and more, and you'd see the bottom of the dog and then its paws as he raised in altitude. He's not seeing beyond the curve. He's just increasing his viewing angle. That's it.
Yeah, and not only that, but you're also then changing the angle at which the atmosphere and the light are interacting, so that you're not going to get that reflection that obscures the bottom part of whatever object you're looking at.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think atmospheric
No?
conditions will... No, I don't think so. I mean, Anthony maintains that it's a combination of the both, and I would agree with that, depending on the conditions, but he had clear visibility to those items. There wasn't an atmospheric effect going on. There wasn't any clouds blocking the bottom of that dog. It was nothing to do with atmosphere. Heat, maybe, to a small extent, but ultimately speaking, it's the diffraction limit that he has reached for the aperture of that camera at that angle. That's what caused the dog to disappear. Same with the boat, same with the building in the distance. Everything that you see has a limit at a given angle and a given distance. So this is all Airy's diffraction. This is the diffraction limit, and that's what's causing things to disappear bottom first. If you backed away from that dog, the angle would narrow for more of the dog. More of the dog would sit in that limited angle, and he'd lose the whole dog if he backed away from it, because he gets further, decreasing that angle to the dog, providing the dog doesn't move, which it does. But you know what I mean. If it was a pair of shoes, that's why I use shoes as an example rather than something like a dog. But in Ranty's example, the dog's perfect because he's jumping in and out of that angle, that limitation of the angle of view. And as he jumps up, he's higher than that angle, therefore you see the dog. When he ducks down to grab a ball, he disappears completely because his entire body is below the limit of that viewing angle.
Yeah, now that he's got two cameras, it would be interesting to have a lower angle shot and a elevated angle shot so that you can have the same observation from those two angles and then have them mirrored next to each other to show that.
Oh, and by the way, I would like to add that there is a direct correlation between heat and miraging effects all around. So
I'll
it
agree.
does
I
matter
agree.
a lot.
It is a factor.
When it's really cold on the Arctics or the ice zone, whatever you want to call it, yeah, you see very far with very little observed miraging type effects. So it's especially where it's hot, you see it more, it works stronger.
I agree, but in this instance with the dog, you can see minimal amounts of heat interfering with the picture's clarity, making it wavy, but it's not that that's causing that literal line across the entire image. Anything below the height of that dog, say a foot high, would be below that limit. Doesn't matter what it is. Same with that's why the people standing next to him have got, you know, whatever's on their belt reflected down below them looking like their feet. Well, it's not. It's just an inverted mirage of the top half of their body, because that particular section of their body is the same height as the dog, therefore sits in the same limited angle. If it was atmospheric or heat related, it would vary across the field of view. It doesn't. It's the same across the entire field of view at that angle.
I don't know. I think that the heat exaggerates the effect. It makes it stronger visibly.
Makes it wavy. Just makes it wavy.
The actual obstruction itself, where that line is laid, it becomes more exaggerated, more noticeable.
I don't think so.
There's a direct correlation, I think.
Well, I don't think so, because it's across the entire field of view. It's completely linear. So if it was sporadic across your field of view, then I might agree. But what is sporadic is the amount of waviness. So the way it presents the mirage makes it seem more miragey because it's all wavy. And that is down to the heat.
Yes, that's one factor. But what I'm saying is there is, from what I've seen and deduced so far, also another effect besides the waviness on the obstruction. And that is that it makes it stronger and more close by looking. It enhances it. Besides the wavy effect in the observations themselves.
You're saying there's a magnification
it enhances
effect.
Obstruction.
Is that what you're saying? You're saying the atmosphere, when heated, will magnify it?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So the actual observed diffraction effects, which they are, become stronger because of it and more noticeable.
Interesting. First I've heard. I mean, my expertise on this is absolutely limited. I don't pretend that I'm an expert in this subject.
Well, we can compare. If we take temperature readings, if we ask Ranty to take temperature readings of the water, for example, if he's going to film over that, and air temperatures, and just give us like the wind and everything, then we could extrapolate that data and just see like, okay, how strong is this diffraction mirage type thing, we're seeing what temperature is it, and then just statistically compare the data afterwards. It's a long-term thing, but shouldn't be too hard. Anyway, just me theorizing about diffraction and its influences.
I'm sure we can get around
I
to you in that
gotta,
case.
I gotta throw a quick shout out to the chat. A very special troll, person in the chat that says that I'm buddy and best friend with Soundly and hang out with him and work with him. I'm not gonna mention your name, Multi Tom Tom. Shout out.
Good stuff. So what I'm going to do in a
George is
second...
giving a very weird, sarcastic compliment. It's too weird.
So I'll
George
just
is
give
in chat, guys. Hooray.
I'll just give a quick shout out to Zoom Truth and Flat Earth Fokker for their street campaigning. Good on them.
So not to be any way detrimental to street activism, because a few days ago I was comparing what Anthony's currently been doing to street activism and saying that it's a bit more real, and I take that back. So I'm going to first and foremost retract that comment and say, you know, there's equal value to street activism. However, Anthony Riley has currently set himself a task to take on the education system through an aspect of law, and he has started a GoFundMe campaign, which I'm going to stick in the chat now. There's a video link to the advert I did, which has got all the links and a bit of information about the actual campaign itself. So yeah, go over to his GoFundMe and bung him a few quid, because I've already done so. I think Arwin and a few others have also done so. Certainly Plain Truth has. Various people have contributed to this, but it's been in the pipeline for a few months. Anthony didn't want to actually put his cap out in front of him until he was absolutely certain that he was on the course, so he wasn't appealing for something that didn't actually require payment, or he failed to get on in the first place. But now he's in a position where he's got a contract. He's got a contract with the university, and you know, he's going to set himself the task of looking at the way the education system basically programs our kids with false information and who is liable for that. So it's going to be a very interesting publication if you can get it through the system. So essentially, by publishing as or in light or in lieu of, that's the one, getting a master's, it will essentially go through the peer review process in doing so. And he's offered people who've actually contributed to the cause to get a copy of it at the end, which is great. But it's more the fact that there'll be something in the education system that is essentially pro-flat Earth, although it's going to be a tricky wording exercise for Anthony to actually phrase it in such a way that it isn't overtly flat Earth and therefore gets rejected out of hand. But as I say, Anthony's been asking for support in that regard, and I'd highly encourage everybody goes over to his GoFundMe, check it out. If nothing else, even if you don't necessarily support him, just share it on Facebook. So yeah, share his GoFundMe campaign with a friend. Maybe someone else will see the benefit in supporting if you can't afford to do so yourself. Just as good to actually share the event, or share my video, either way. But I've put a link to the video advert for that campaign. There's a bit of information in there. Check it out. If nothing else, just share it. You miserable buggers. Globeheads probably won't do anything of the sort, but for all those reasonable people out there, at the very least, check out the campaign and hopefully share the campaign and hopefully support it. You know, stick some cash in and help him get to his total. So there you go. There's Anthony's campaign. I intended to support Anthony in his Sleeping Warrior-a-thon to promote the campaign and hopefully get him to his target, but unfortunately, because I was so elated of having JLB on the show yesterday, I kept the show going considerably longer than I anticipated, and I had actually promised to help Anthony with that following yesterday's show. So he's not around today. I don't know if he's sleeping in or whatever. Hopefully he's not deeply disappointed in the fact that I didn't help him do his show after the fact. My bad. I'm really sorry, Anthony, if you're listening. But yeah, hopefully he'll do that, and I'll be in the background, you know, supporting him in his endeavour to reach his target. So if that goes ahead today, I will let everybody know. He might make an appearance on the next show and say, yes, I'm going to be doing this at 5 p.m. today or whatever. But yeah, if and when we do that, it'll be in the next few days. If not today, check out Anthony's Sleeping Warrior-a-thon, where he'll disseminate quite a lot more information about what he's doing, why he's doing it, and what support he requires. So one last time, I'll put a link to my video advert for that campaign in the super chat, in the chat. And unless there's anything else by anybody else, I'll round out for a quick break.
Shout out to Sleeping Warrior.
Any more for any more? Is that a no? No Mark Sargent's on the panel shouting out George Clooney. Cool, fair enough. Right, with that, I will say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, then you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!